Well, for a reaction, let's bring in Jennifer Keesmaat, formerly Toronto's chief city planner and now president and CEO of CollectDev-Markee. Thanks so much for coming in.
Great to be here.
So it's really interesting how you have, a perspective on this from the city side of things, but also now from more of the development side of things. So I'm curious, just sort of headline-wise, with this Housing Accelerator Fund and $470 million to the city, or more than that, do you see potential here for some change that could help to, kickstart some building?
Well, when we look at the magnitude of the shortage that we face across the country and particularly in our big cities, there's a whole series of initiatives that are required to get things moving. We have things happening on the financial side, on the design side. We have processes and regulations that need to be fixed. And part of what you see in the Housing Accelerator Fund that is being rolled out across the country by this federal government is they're trying to get at it from all those different angles. We recently just had the forgiveness of GST on rental housing. That's a really big push. It doesn't do everything, but it does a big push for a whole series of rental projects. Now we have this announcement today with the City of Toronto. I think Calgary's Housing Accelerator monies were announced about 2 weeks ago. The goal here is to really tackle some upzoning that would allow housing to be built as of right, which would mean instead of going through a year or a 2-year process at the City of Toronto to build a 6-story building on an avenue, you can go and pull a permit and get that same building built, which is a big deal because it's very costly to go through that process.
Yeah, shaving a year or two off of something, I mean, that does seem like it has potential there. So when they're talking about, using this money towards cutting red tape, is that what they're talking about, or are there other examples of red tape that you've seen from either angle that you think we could really do without this?
Really, honestly, I never thought I would hear the Prime Minister of Canada talk about zoning, as an urban planner. Pretty shocking for me to hear those words coming out of his mouth. But really, when we're talking about red tape, when it comes to housing at the municipal level, yes, we're talking about zoning and all of the other regulations that the city controls that holds up the delivery of housing. There's red tape on the financial side as well. Most of that's really in the hands of CMHC and the banks. That's not really what this announcement today was about. Today was really about the things that are within the purview of the municipality. And that does have to do with simplifying processes. It does have to do with upzoning. You did hear the mention about allowing more density around transit stations. We've had signals from the provincial government that they were going to make changes about 2 years ago. Everyone's kind of been waiting on pins and needles for them to move forward with those changes. Now it's kind of coming at them from both angles. You've got the city saying, yes, we're going to go ahead and do this and upzone, make those buildings permitted as of right. And you've got the feds turning around and saying, look, you can access this funding if you simplify your processes, get rid of the red tape, if you make it easier to get housing built more quickly. So it's coming from all sides right now. That's a good sign.
Why do you think some of this stuff hasn't already happened? Was it about money? Because I'm thinking, if you're talking about rezoning, how much money does that cost? Is that really the roadblock?
Well, yeah, I can give you a specific example because I just came out of a meeting this morning for a 1,500-unit development that we have on Bayview Avenue, and we're just about to move into site plan. We're putting the shovel in the ground in August of 2024. The rezoning process cost us about $2 million. So you can imagine that's an upfront cost to the process that you have to, and you have carrying costs. So just imagine for a minute that process didn't take 2 years. It took 1 year instead. In that 2-year process, interest rates went up 10 times. So the cost to us in terms of advancing that new community are really significant because we've not only had the hard costs of paying for the architects, the consultants, everyone from people who do the water and the stormwater management to the mechanical engineering, to also the carrying costs. So there's a lot of different costs that are associated with an elongated timeline.
Yeah.
And it's really brutal right now. Interest rates are high, construction costs are high, access to labor is really, really tricky right now. So any break that we can get that can lead to more housing starts is really a good thing. And, housing starts are down right now exactly when we need them to be up.
I totally see that from the development perspective, from the city's perspective, just changing the zoning. Does that actually cost them money? We are going to speak with the mayor about this a little bit later to see where the money is actually going to go. But making that change, does that cost the city money, or are you thinking that this money is going to be going towards, other efforts?
Well, this is the funny thing.
Yeah.
This is actually a pretty easy thing for the city to do. As an example, when I was chief planner, we were advancing the Eglinton Crosstown. And one of the things we heard from the development community was that if we upzoned that corridor, that would be a way of linking new housing to the building of the LRT. So we did it. It took about 2 years. We had to do all kinds of due diligence and analysis. We brought forward those regulations. They were approved by City Council. But now it's actually easier for the city, and it costs the city less because the city doesn't have to oversee a process on a site-by-site basis to get every new building built. So the truth is, this is in the city's interest. This actually makes it easier for the city to play its role in being an enabler in getting more housing built. So this, it's a win-win to truncate those processes and to make as much in the city as of right as possible.
That's really interesting potential for savings there for the city, perhaps. The federal government with this Housing Accelerator Fund wanted cities to have, bold ideas to bring some really, big impact things to the table. I wonder if there are things you haven't heard yet that you think would be bold, would be powerful in this moment that we're in where we need to get housing built.
Oh, this is such a great question because I think in some ways part of what we've seen across the entire country with respect to these bold ideas, many of them are things that those of us in this space, whether on the policy side or on the developer side, have kind of been arguing for many, many years. Let's use city-owned land to build more housing. That's an easy win. You don't have to, the land is there. Let's go use that land and get housing built. A super, super easy win to do that. Things like upzoning. In some ways, I think what we're doing right now is we're bringing Canadian municipalities up to what the baseline should be. And in part, that speaks to how convoluted building housing has become in this country. So, it doesn't sound bold to talk about as-of-right zoning, to talk about using city-owned land. But the truth is, we're really far behind on this, and we haven't been doing this. We haven't been really emulating best practices that you see in places like London or Sydney, cities that I've been in where I've seen these great projects that are developed through these types of municipal partnerships. And I should add, you can deliver a significant amount of affordable housing when you create these kinds of partnerships between the private sector and the municipality. So in some ways, I think if it seems underwhelming what you're seeing right now, in part that is because we're sort of so far behind. We're here, we need to get here. What we're doing through the Housing Accelerator Fund is we're really bringing municipalities in Canada up to the 21st century through zoning reform, which, by the way, is sweeping the entire continent. It's not just in Canada where these pushes of getting rid of exclusionary zoning are being advocated. It's really happening across the entire continent.